Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. 1 year ago, Norm Macdonald passed away. Cracked had some of his jokes. Let me see if I can dust off my half-ass Norm Macdonald impression. All right, ready? I once walked into my parents having sex. It was the most embarrassing 30 minutes of my life. New joke. They say if you're afraid of homosexuals, it means that deep down inside, you're actually a homosexual yourself. That worries me because I'm afraid of dogs. One more dog joke from Norm. Why do dogs always race at the door when the doorbell rings? It's almost never for them. Shaquille O'Neal was on The Big Podcast and took a stand for Aries Spears after co-host Nichelle Turner accused Aries Spears of fat-shaming Lizzo. Here we go again with this from Sportskeeda. Shaq chuckled at the notion and proceeded to say that the comments were being blown out of proportion. You know the deal. Aries Spears said some mean things about Lizzo's physical appearance. I don't want to get into that again. If you're curious, back up a couple episodes. I'm not here to pile on Lizzo. But Shaquille O'Neal's point of view is you sensitive people can't pick and choose when you want to be sensitive. That's all I have to say. Leave Dave Chappelle, Corey Holcomb, and Aries Spears alone. That dude is a comedian. The Boston Globe caught up with Nate Bargatze, who said, I'm very good at my world as far as comedy. I'm not college educated. I don't know a lot of big words. You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. It doesn't make you dumb at all. But he stands by an old routine about traveling back in time and not being able to convince the locals he was from the future. I don't think I could. I don't know what I would tell them. The Boston Globe said if you compare Nate's act to his act from 10 years ago, he almost seems like a different person. The more jokey material has blossomed into structured stories. His rhythms are stronger, the deadpan sharper. He's drawing laughs from his life rather than looking for a quick 1-2 punch. Nate says, you just learn your voice, and the stuff that won't really feel like something funny, you can't make it funny. I just have more access to material than I would have 10 years ago. Amer hosted a shopping spree for families who lost everything during a devastating 2-alarm fire back in August. This from KHOU 11. On Saturday, Mo hosted families at the Academy Sports and Outdoors on Highway 6. Amer helped a group of kids from the apartment complex with the help of Alif ISD. Several students lost all their new school clothes and books in the fire, which happened during the first week of school. From the Laugh Button, there's been an animated Whitest Kids U Know movie in the works for a few years. They even did a GoFundMe and raised $300,000 for it. Then Whitest Kids U Know member Trevor Moore passed away, and nobody knew what was going to happen. Zach Kreger said, we had written a movie called Mars, and the plan was always for it to be an animated feature. Before Trevor died, we recorded all his dialogue, and we've crowdfunded the budget for this movie. It's like $300,000, a little more, and we're currently making it. I think we're going to wrap it up in about a month or so, and I think it's great. Zach Kreger added, without Trevor Moore, there's no Whitest Kids, so this will be our finest thing, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm really happy to put it out there. Watching the Manning cast the other night, Joel McHale was on, and he asked Peyton Manning, what's bigger, your forehead or John Elway's teeth? Now, time out there, Joel McHale. I think it's possible that maybe it's possible Joel's hair has had some adjustments over the years, so watch the cheap shot there, Joel. But Joel said, hey, what's bigger, your forehead or John Elway's teeth? Peyton said, Joel, we have Shannon Sharpe coming up in the fourth quarter. We have to let you go. Hey, big exciting news. Adam Sandler, my favorite comedian, has announced a 15-date headlining live tour combining music and comedy in that way only Adam Sandler can, where I sit there going, what is funny about this? Why are the millennials laughing at this? Adam Sandler will be joined by, quote, unnamed special guest. I saw a different article that suggested that unnamed special guest is Rob Schneider. The tour begins in Allentown, Pennsylvania on October 21st and concludes in Savannah, Georgia on November 14th. In between Boston, Belmont Park, that's Long Island, New York, Atlantic City, Tampa, Greenville, Raleigh, and more. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. Don't miss out, 10 a.m., man. Also going on tour, Kathleen Madigan. Her tour is called Boxed Wine and Tiny Banjos. 23 dates kicking off in January 23. All new material. Her tickets also go on sale tomorrow, 10 a.m. Vulture put out their annual Comics to Watch list. I've been picking away at it. You may have noticed that. Today, Nori Davis is their comic to watch. Well, not according to them. They put out a whole list at once. According to me, today is about Nori Davis. You know what I'm saying. Vulture wrote, a classic Nori Davis joke is one that feels very, very specific and is instantly recognizable as a universal experience. He has a memorable joke about how students assume teachers don't have a life outside of school. It's a premise that's well-worn enough to be almost too obvious, even when coupled with his performance of an imaginary teacher robot shutting down and powering up in a cubby overnight. But the joke becomes fully his when it transitions into his mother's own experience as a teacher, reacting to being recognized outside of school as though she's a bored, blasé celebrity inundated with fans. He embodies the student first, then overwhelmed, ecstatic adult losing his mind when he spots his elementary school teacher. Then Davis becomes his own mother, eyes rolling, resigned, "Hey, baby." His hand waving and a half greeting, half dismissal. The joke is a standout, but it's also representative of Davis's broader approach. His work often comes from personal or family material, and his typical framing is loving, lived in, and relaxed. Vulture asked him, all right, what comedy opinions, what hill will you die on? Nori Davis said, social media is a tool and not your whole career. I urge young comedians to work harder in their live performance and not just post crowd work material online to gain followers. Very good note there. Very good note there. I'm going to say it a third time. Very good note there. Sam Morrill and Nimesh Patel do it excellent because they are great stand-ups first. All right, best and worst comedy advice. Best, build in New York City, never perform in LA until the industry asks you to. You'll just be another dead body added to the pile. He credits Tracy Morgan with that advice. The worst advice? You should wait for somebody in the industry to give you a comedy special. And Broadway Video, they're the producers of Saturday Night Live. They've announced a whole bunch of new comedy podcasts as part of a collaboration with Audible. The first one is an audio fiction series called Motivated. The story takes listeners to the fictional WCAL, a small local radio station in Rochester, New York, with a motley crew of novice talk show hosts keeping their station afloat as the two biggest stars duel to prove who gets the fame and who is the fraud. Rob Riggle among the creators. Cast includes Janelle James, Anna Gasteyer, Rachel Dratch, and Tom Hanks. Yeah, Motivated debuts September 22nd. Then in November, we'll get Past My Bedtime, an oral history of the fastest failure in late-night history. It is a fictional 10-episode series about a forgotten and invented pop culture footnote, the ill-fated 2003 premiere of the first late-night talk show to be hosted by a 10-year-old boy, and the show's abrupt cancellation 6 minutes into its live premiere. I can't roll with that premise. Shows don't get canceled. I get it's comedy, but nobody's giving a 10-year-old a late-night show and canceling it 6 minutes in. You gotta have a realistic premise, guys. Come on. And they announced a bunch for 2023, but we can talk about those next year. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your shows. If you want to keep up to date with the royal family, I don't know if you heard, the Queen died, and there's a funeral and stuff. Palace Intrigue, I'm the writer on that show, and we've been putting out 2 episodes a day. Been quite busy, so you can follow Palace Intrigue as well, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.